We'll be eating this today. They're a couple little, I guess, tortilla things with some hummus and Brussels sprout leaves and hot peppers and carrots on it. And I'll be talking about this book while we eat soup and those things that I made. James might be talking about some books too. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
He
maybe
has some
more than
books
some.
out here.
No?
So, I just finished this Wanderlust therapy journaling project, and which is a funny thing to do while you're in isolation from COVID. And so, anyway, I found it amusing and frustrating at the same time, because really, I'm stuck in isolation, which is not that big a deal for me because, well, one, I'm a recluse. So this is how I would like to be on a farm. I would like to be able to go wandering around on my farm. And so now I'm stuck in the house, which is not great. But because I'm not even really keen on being out in my garden, because people could be out there when I'm not here, and I don't know, right?
They could be spitting, doing whatever,
don't
peeing.
know. They could be here. I'm a little concerned about that. But anyway, so this Dr. Trisha Wolanin, she's Filipino American. I don't know. I think something like that. And she was living in Hawaii for a while, working for the military, and her patients were saying she was cold and like a police officer or something like that, detached sort of. And she thought, you know, I don't feel that way, but I'm coming across that way. And so anyway, so she decided to write this book, and it's actually not too bad, because I'll say that because it did get me productive in a good way, I think. What do you think, James? It did influence me somehow.
I think it's largely, you used it kind of as a scaffolding. Mm-hmm. It really was your own energy, you know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I don't know if anyone else could do it, you know, like she can't claim credit for anything, really.
Mm-hmm. Well, she can claim credit for it. Like the journaling part of it, I got out a lot of frustration and anger and stuff, because I mean, here she's this kind of person. She's in Hawaii, and she makes her like, she has a bucket list of things she wants to do in her life.
Was that right? Awful? Can you remember some of the details?
Yeah, and then so she's in Hawaii, and this is her bucket list, like her part to do for the year, which is good. It's good to, you know, think of, what do I want to get done in my life, and what am I going to get done this year, because you never know how long you're going to live, and life's pretty short, really, for getting a lot of things done, unless you have some sort of a plan, and then it probably doesn't work out anyway, and you go, well. But so she has this, that part of it's good. You break it down for the year and go, all right, well, let's see what I can knock off the list, right? But her list is, she's in Hawaii, keep in mind. I once had a boyfriend who, he wanted to take me on a trip. And he wanted me to choose which one. Would I want to go to Las Vegas or Hawaii? And I ended the relationship. Why? Because he should have known me well enough to know I would always pick Hawaii. And I would never, ever, ever, I never want to go to Las Vegas. Ever in my life. I never want to go there. So he didn't even know me well enough to know which one of those two I'd pick. So I ended it. Which, I mean, you're thinking, what? She could have got a free trip to Hawaii. Yeah, I could have. I'm not that kind of person. So, anyway, but here she is in Hawaii, and her list, booze cruise, come on now, really? And zip lining, which, you know, I guess I could hang on to zip line. There you go, it's done, and whatever, right? But I mean, it's not something I'd go, yeah, I got to get this done in my life. Like, I could do it. I don't know why. I don't know if I'd really have that great an experience. I mean, I'd probably get motion sick and I'd throw up. But anyway, I could get it done. But it's another thing on her list was indoor rock climbing. She's in Hawaii. She wants to go indoor rock climbing. Go figure. You know, so anyway. So I'm going through her thing, and it's based on, she says, she based this on Lent. So it's a 40-day thing, a 40-day project to go through this thing. And I did. And I didn't do it exactly as she intended a lot of the time. And there were a lot of the meditations which I said, okay, well, this is a bathtub project, because I'm not going to waste my time sitting and doing, because a lot of these things take some time. Anyway, and I like spending time in the bathtub, so may as well meditate there, whatever. So, but what was I going to say about it?
Well, you're thinking, did you want this one, or?
Oh, if you like it, you eat it.
It's good enough, huh?
Then eat it. Yeah. So, I didn't think you'd like it. It has hot pepper in it.
It's not too hot.
It's amazing. You're handling the spice better lately.
Mm-hmm. A little bit.
Interesting.
It's like I say, I think the chemo's having some effect on my GERD. Mm-hmm. It's bad when I take the dexamethasone, but those are just the particular days. Anyway.
The Lent. So. So she says it's based on Lent. If you know anything about Lent, you know that for Lent you give something up. Or a bunch of things up. I mean, you've probably picked up on the fact that I'm half French, my grandma Catholic, and she had been married to a man. He was not my grandfather, but he was the only grandfather that I knew on that side, because I didn't know my actual grandfather on that side, but on the French side. So, my grandpa Bell, who was not actually my grandpa, he would do serious Lent, serious fasting, like incredible. So he'd give up so much, and he got quite grumpy while he was doing it. But anyway, this is a thing that Catholics do, and I actually think that it's there's a lot of sense to it. I've talked about this before, that in the spring it's the most important detox to do for the year. And she does, she says she does, what does she call it? Super cleanse or something, master cleanse, she said. So she does that every year. And I think the spring, that's the most important one, because if over the winter, you've probably been eating a lot of fatty things just to keep warm, and there's a lot of toxins stored in fat, so you're going to have increased your toxin load. So it's good you got to get rid of that stuff, right? Or you're going to keep going downhill. And so anyway, so I'm a big fan of where Lent comes from, I think, where I think it comes from. So anyway, giving up something. Hers is not Lent. It's really, really indulgent. She's like, there's one part where she's telling you to eat a chocolate and be mindful about it, or whatever, or just have some treat, right? She suggests chocolate. And so I had chocolate around, because I have chocolates that I've stored for years, actually. I have some things that I've really been saving for a special occasion, and I'm sure if I unwrap the pretty gold wrap, it wouldn't be pretty inside anymore.
It's
So
not the
I
kind of
keep
white
it-
chocolate you want to
Yeah,
be eating.
no. But it means more for me to have that pretty gold wrap that hasn't been opened yet. And somehow James accepts that. My last boyfriend did not. But once it's opened and eaten, it's gone. It's like zip lining. It's over and then it's like, yeah, you zip line. Whatever. But if you just have that chocolate around, then you can imagine you're eating it, and you know what chocolate tastes like. So every time you look at that chocolate, you kind of get a little taste of it, right? So
Yeah, I don't.
Anyway,
It's not
I like
accepting.
it.
It's kind of
So-
nice ideas. Huh?
yeah. So she wants you to be mindful, and I was like, I don't want to eat this chocolate right now, and I, for one thing, right now, because I'm going through menopause, if I eat chocolate, I get heat flashes like crazy. It's terrible. So really, I know that it's going to be a bad idea to have that treat. So it's not much of a treat for me right now, right? So anyway, but her things, they're all like really, they take a lot of, they're all about living, benefiting now, enjoying life now. It's all really, it's all like her whole life, I think, is like eating chocolate. It's just, and I've known a lot of people like that. They're always wanting to get the most out of their own life, and it's like, I'm sure the people on the Ruby Princess and the
Daisy Princess.
Daisy Princess were those kind of people. They were wanting to make their life count and have as much fun as possible, booze cruising it or whatever. And it's like, one, if you're booze cruising, what's the point of that? Why not just go booze cruise in a basement? Get loaded in your basement. I mean, honestly, if you're going out onto the ocean and you don't get motion sick, like me, I get motion sick. So going out on the ferry or whatever, it's like James has a good time. Me, I'll take some grub, I'll sleep, because honestly, it's not a good experience for me. But me being at the shore, looking out at the ocean, hooray, wonderful. I love it. But what was I going to say? Well, anyway, it's if you're drinking alcohol and you're thinking, this will make the experience even more fun. No, you're like drugging yourself to. It's stupid.
Yeah, you're
Don't do that.
narcotizing yourself.
Why would you want to do that?
Yeah, it seems
And
ridiculous.
it's absolutely ridiculous. And anyway, all of her things were just, I wouldn't recommend doing those things. Try to think, how can I be productive in a way that I enjoy, right? So here I was, instead I was writing a poem every day, and sometimes it was based on what activity she had me doing,
Well,
or
most
whatever.
of the time it was.
A lot of the
You
time
gotta
I
give yourself
was
credit.
trying to.
She was using it as a scaffold in herself.
Yeah, I was trying to.
It's a good idea.
It was.
Because it made sure that you had something to write about. So
Yeah.
you
so
showed a lot of discipline. You averaged
I
a
always
poem
show
a
a lot
day.
of
It's
discipline.
amazing. And that was like for over 3 weeks, more than 3
Yeah,
weeks.
but I'll continue on with that.
I hope.
Mm-hmm.
Because Pauline, right now, I've been going through the person who's technically the second best poet in Lethbridge, and formerly, because Pauline surpassed him. So I've been looking at it really, really carefully. Like I've been going through and doing adjective counts and rhyme counts. You've been doing. Generally doesn't get up about 14% rhymes, 14% syllables rhymed. And you've gotten up to close to 25%. And you're much smoother, your prosody, really. Like, you don't have to enjam. He enjams a lot. He enjams too much.
Well,
I mean, it's.
I am trying to impress you. I know what impresses you and what doesn't, so.
Well, yeah, and I try to make it objective. You know what I'm saying? It's not, like I'm married to her, therefore, I try not to make it like nepotism or stuff like that. I have ways of actually putting numbers to these sorts of things. So, I'll be going through and seeing how many. I was doing adjective counts on your stuff a little bit, and you weren't. He is lucky when he's when he has more than 10 words per adjective, right? The average in prose, I gather, something like around 12 words per adjective. And if you if you consistently get below that, then it means you're throwing in too many adjectives. And adjectives are not nearly as strong as nouns and verbs. So you want to keep it somewhere around the prose thing, or like 12 words per adjective, or if you can, less. So I can recall one poem I did. It's a poem. It's very demanding, rhyme scheme and rhythm pattern. And I think I had 58 words per adjective. And believe me, I'm proud of that. I wouldn't want to do that all the time. It wasn't a descriptive kind of poem. But if you're doing description, then it's going to be the count's going to be a little bit lower and things like that. And I've gotten down a couple of times with poems I've liked quite a bit, where it's well below 10. But I don't mind that, because I've got a range. You know what I'm saying? I've got a range that would go, let's say, from 58 words per adjective down to maybe 5.8 words per adjective. But almost always I'm above 10 words per adjective.
So having said that, the Trisha Wollanen book, it's not that good, but, and it's self-published, but I got used out of it.
Well, at least you didn't get the equivalent of Canada Council grant.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So 2 thumbs up there. Canada Council grants were stuff that's basically vanity. It should be vanity publishing. 2 thumbs down. I'm not here to pay, as a taxpayer, to pay for people that put out garbage. There's way too much of that.
If each Canadian citizen had the opportunity of getting a Canada Council grant for their book, their first book, that'd be good.
Yeah, but it doesn't work.
But it doesn't work out that way.
It's you get some ugly flunkies who are promoting their friends and family, relatives and stuff like that. It's just out and out nepotism. It's out and out corruption. So, I could see it like when I was a kid, with Whetstone here in Lethbridge. That was kind of like the university's literary rag. Well, it wasn't really a journal or whatever. Yeah. Believe me, it wasn't on newsprint or anything like that. It cost a pretty penny.
Looks pretty professionally.
You've seen the Whetstone thing,
yeah.
But when you actually delved into it,
the content,
you're going like there were really no standards. Or the standard was basically, don't write poetry. They'll call it verse, but don't write it. Like you've got to write free verse. Well, that's just prose. So.
Which is great, but
it's great if it's well written.
Yeah.
But the challenges for it are pretty minorly. It's just and so often people, because they're not challenged. You were noticing it. Like I kept on saying to Pauline, hopefully not doing it many times. First thought, worst thought. And with a lot of these flunkies writing free verse, what they call free verse, it's just short prose. They go by that Buddhist kind of thing. First thought, best thought. And Pauline noticed, like she'd go through, and I'd be saying, it doesn't quite fit the rhythm, the pattern that I've set out for you. And then she'd come up with something better. Not the same, better. First thought, worst thought. What poetry does, it actually slows you down and maybe makes you start thinking about and feeling about what you want to be saying,
because a lot of the time I'd get this idea in my head of what words I wanted to put into a line, and then put them in, and I was like, I know this isn't the beat that I want, but maybe James will let me get away with it, and he doesn't. And
Not usually.
no. And so anyway, then he would catch it. He'd say it has to change. It doesn't fit the. He said if you want to write free verse, that's fine. But
It's a totally different
sometimes
show.
he'd say these words don't rhyme. And sometimes he'd be like, this isn't the beat. This isn't.
I was
and
mainly
so,
worried about the urban. You know. Really, linguists talk about prosody, so do poets, real poets. English prosody, which is basically the rhythm. And if you can get English rhythm, you're just a prose writer. Just fess up and do that. Like it's a lot less challenging. It's like walking on ice in gumboots or something like that. There's a certain you earn a certain respect from it. If you can get on ice and on gumboots and you don't fall down. But it's not the same thing as getting out on ice and on figure skates.
But after a while, I often would come up with, something I'd be like, I'm not gonna get anything to fit in this, and then something I'd be like, and it'd just come to me, like what needed to be there. And so it really wasn't any more work, it was just being patient with, setting it down for a while and understanding that it wasn't finished yet. And then, looking at it from time to time and then going, oh, this is what needs to be there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a more well, so often so-called free verse.
I'd eat the blush one. It was so pretty.
So-called free verse is, because of this first thought, best thought sort of thing. What it tends to be is either or journaling or journalism.
Mm-hmm.
And the big trouble is journaling and journalism is largely ephemeral, especially journalism. You write something every day, and after someone's read it, it's good for lining the birdcage.
Unless you decide to do as I did and say, I've journaled before, and I realized that largely it was just a waste of time because I don't go over my old journal stuff, because why would I? But if you do it in poetry, that's something you might want to hang on to, right? Or if you do it in, there are a couple things, like today's project, today's the last day for my Wanderlust thing. Today's project is to make a collage, a mind map, well, several mind maps actually, of whatever I want to accomplish this year in picture form. I make collages of. So it's I'm going big. I'm going pie in the sky. So we'll see what happens.
It's going to be a world map, one of those wall maps.
Mm-hmm. It literally will be, because I'm going to put it up on the wall in front of that, instead of that painting that I don't like, that you like, the one over the sofa.
The Italian scene? I kind of like it. It's
I
kind of
know
cute.
you do, but I don't. So it's coming down.
Well, it's up to you. It's your place and it's your painting. So, what can I say? I'm not even putting in my input. It's not saying, please keep it.
I might put it back up later, but for now I'm going to do this.
If Pauline was thinking of, trashing it and spring cleaning, sending it to the junkyard or something like that, then I'd be saying, please keep it.
And I'm going to mix it with, some other things, like some drawings and stuff like that, because I don't have I can't go out and print pictures off or anything like that, because I don't have a public library right now.
Yeah, we're actually doing the social distancing and not the antisocial lack
No,
of
well, that
distancing.
one doesn't even exist. They were sensible. They shut down the library. I mean, it would have spread through.
They did that early.
Crazy, yeah. So that was smart.
You know what? They actually closed down the Cargill plant. It's been closed down for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Of course, they were 2 weeks too late, I think.
Yeah.
So now it's 821 people who work there. Got it. I believe it's over 1,100 people all told. So 821, and then all the way up to 1,100 when you count in community spread.
Yeah.
But they're so sure now that after 2 weeks of closing down that it's free and clear. They're going to be opening it up in a little while. You know when? Monday.
That's nice.
That is very nice, eh?
We'll see
And
what happens.
we were talking yesterday about what Trump was signing in by edict. It was keeping open meatpacking plants.
Mhm.
That's what he's. So I guess I don't know if it'd be illegal to stay home. I'm not sure what the scene is. But yeah, Trump is, when he did that.
Well, what they're doing then is they're definitely trying to kill off antibiotics.
Well, it's insane. Exactly right. 'Cause
It's obvious
now this is a viral thing, but I
Yeah,
don't know
but
if
once-
they end up having to
If
use
you think
antibiotics.
about it, I don't know if they're using antibiotics when they have people hooked up to the ventilators and stuff inside the hospital. I bet they do.
They must. You know.
But I don't know what they're doing in there. I have no idea. I could ask. I could ask some of my family members. They would know. But because I have a lot of family members who work in the medical system. But anyway, with intensive livestock production, our antibiotics have become less and less useful. They're not. They're becoming completely ineffective, and that's how we're getting superbugs.
Yeah.
And now,
Pretty soon they're going to be super
Like-
duper bugs.
well, now there won't be anything. So, well, there'll be some things that some pharmaceutical companies have really been keeping under their hats.
I hope.
Oh yeah, I think so.
We'll see.
And you're going to be paying more for those than you will for those AIDS drugs. So they've been trying, actually, to kill off antibiotics just so that they can make more money off of it. And I mean, it's something you can control the population if either you get the antibiotics or you don't get any more time in this world. So, but yeah, since they're keeping the meat packing plants open, and that's one of that's got to be it. They're trying to kill off antibiotics.
Well, there's a lot of reasons for them keeping it open. I mean, it's a big economic thing. You know, I was listening to the union, not rep, but like a head.
Yeah.
He's a very reasonable guy. He was the guy that I was hearing maybe 3 weeks ago saying they should shut it down before it was an issue. Really.
Yeah, that's
And-
the people though. But big pharma is big money. That's big economy.
Well, so is Cargill. Like
Exactly.
Cargill is,
But-
according to this guy, and I don't see where he'd be wrong about it. Why make it up? It's the biggest privately held company in all of the United States. That means it's big. Apparently it's a family, and all of them, the major holders are billionaires. And I was saying yesterday, I remembered this from when he was saying his fourth richest family in the United States or something. These guys are real sleazeballs. Apparently, and the timing is significant. Trump signs this thing, was it yesterday, the day before, about requiring stuff to stay open